It's another Thursday in the world of football, and guess what, guys? Everybody's playing CeeDee Lamb again, but we're going to talk about it here. Seahawks versus Cowboys. It is a Thursday night football showdown. I'm going right from stream to stream here. Appreciate all you guys waiting on me here. Apologize for being delayed, but I had to do the Stochastic show with my pal Eric Lindquist. So if you want to check out some of my thoughts on the main slate, obviously come back tomorrow to Splash Play, but also check out that show with Eric. Had a lot of fun on there. Bro got the puppet, so we got all the fun that we can do. But we got some business to take care of as always here, and we got to talk about the players involved in Seattle versus Dallas tonight. Seattle also, I didn't put the implied totals on the screen because I wanted to start the stream bright and early here relative to already being late. 19.3 implied points for Seattle, 28.3 implied points for Dallas. So big favorites for Dallas at home. Of course, we talk about the advanced analytics here, and what I'm going to do on this video, if you're not familiar with the process here on Splash Play, I'm going to build lineups three different ways. I'm going to hand build a lineup using the advanced analytics that I swear by from a site called Sports Info Solutions that gives me the EPA metrics, gives me a lot of different data that helps me make the decisions. We're also going to look at projections from Stochastic, go in there, dig into their projections and our ownership projections, then run the optimizer to find out what the best plays are according to the sheer math of it all. And last but not least, we'll build the sims out on Stochastic as well. Then I'll give you guys my 3 takeaways about how to build unique lineups for the slate. So that's what we do here always on Splash Play Mondays and Thursdays. And we're going to start it right now with CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb in the spot. Is he in a good matchup overall? CeeDee Lamb on the year gets the most slot targets, 52 slot targets for him compared to 46 out wide. Biggest spot to attack on Seattle's defense is the slot. 0.28 EPA per target they're allowed to slot players getting a target. So it should be a spot where CeeDee Lamb should be good. That said, he is likely to be the chalk captain. I have not looked at ownership yet, so we'll find out together on that one. My guess would be he's going to be the chalk captain on the slate. So for CeeDee Lamb, I think if we're going to play him, we want to play him in the flex. If we don't play him, I imagine he might be a 100% projection play that comes up in an optimizer. As we found out on Monday, when we see those 100% plays in an optimizer, you're going to want to fade one of them. You might want to fade a couple of them, but on Monday, it was Josh Dobbs, it was Justin Fields, and it was TJ Hockenson in every lineup. And then what did we see? Josh Dobbs doesn't make it. Fields and Hockenson do. That's how that goes. So we'll look at the projections in a moment and see how that looks. But I think for right now, let's put CeeDee Lamb in the flex and try to get different at captain. How do we get different at captain would be the question. I think a Seattle pass catcher would help us accomplish that. Dak Prescott probably would not help us accomplish that, getting different. Dak, of course, we know has a pretty huge ceiling, though, especially in a game where it is a 28-point implied total. Man. Tony Pollard would get us a little bit more unique. Can we even fade Dak? God, it feels impossible to fade Dak at this point. You can see the box scores here, 35 at the down game versus Carolina. Carolina's pass defense certainly much better than the run defense. 16 points there, but 41, 31, 32, 25 in this one. Since they've kind of taken the governor off of Dak Prescott and actually allowed him to throw, he has been a world beater. And as I mentioned on the Spags rankings video yesterday, this is with him running one time. If he ran 5 to 10 times a game, Dak Prescott would be the QB1 in football, and I don't think it'd be particularly close in terms of fantasy output and also the advanced analytics, the EPA metrics in particular. So Dak, I don't want to fade Dak. I do not want to fade Dak. Let's put him at captain. Let's do it this way. We'll try to get a Dallas alpha stack here. I do think as well, the real contrarian build today is going to be playing more Seahawks than Cowboys. Seahawks are a huge underdog. It doesn't make the most sense, but we have seen that win enough times, including on Monday night, where we talked about, again, another way to get unique was playing a 5-1 Bears, 4-2 Bears. 5-1 Bears ends up winning it because they're the underdog. So if you are going to play a 5-1 Seattle, I will play a few tonight, but you really got to hold your nose on that because it doesn't look like that matchup for Seattle will go off on paper against a Dallas defense. Negative 0.21 EPA per dropback, negative 0.26 EPA per pass, negative 0.12 EPA per rush. In the red zone is the only spot you could attack them. Red zone passing, they are a positive EPA, but barely at 0.01. So in this spot, I really feel like it is not the prettiest situation to go to Seattle, so that's why I'm going to build this way for my hand build. Cody Mann of VTR does a great job. Of course, been on Splash before, so we appreciate him for that and always will. Tweeted some interesting build stuff out with games that have 7+ point spreads. I'm not going to pull that up right now, but I think ETR's data is a great one, as I always recommend. Watch this stream, watch ETR, watch Stochastic. If you have time, watch Run Pure as well. But get in a mix of them because that helps you get a read on what the entire industry is doing and then where people will fall in line with that. And usually I think that's a really helpful part of the process. Shout out Colin here too. Spags, you the best man, best showdown content in the industry, hands down. Thank you. I think, again, there's a lot of great people that do it as well, but I'm really glad to see the results some of you guys have had out there, and I hope it helps. So we'll keep talking about it as always here on Mondays and Thursdays. Other plays we can get in here. So Tony Pollard, I think an interesting play. If we go to him, though, we are basically leaving out a lot of the Seattle pass catchers we might want to get to. Tyler Lockett at a very cheap price tag on this slate as well, and I think he is probably the strongest receiver play relative to the matchup. On the year, Dallas, let's see, Dallas weakest against tight ends. So a Noah Fant, a Will Dissly, neither guy plays enough snaps to feel comfortable with. And again, a tight end weakness can be a slot weakness. So I am going to go with Tyler Lockett as my third player in here. I don't really want to fade Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard's going the right direction. But if we put him in, we're eating up way too much salary, I think. Let's see. No, that's not enough money. That's not enough money. I think we're going to go to the other side and go Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet's workload's been pretty good. I know people watched that game on Thursday night, and a lot of people were, it depends on where you come from, I think, where a lot of the film watcher guys were like, this is what Charbonnet needs to be. He's an aggressive runner. The stuff that I've talked about. He's a violent runner. He goes after contact. He also is much better in the pass game than Kenneth Walker. We've seen him get 6 targets, 5 targets, 4 targets. Obviously, the workload with no Kenneth Walker, once again, out with the oblique strain, should be good for Zach Charbonnet. So I think Charbonnet is going to be a play I put in with Lockett. We'll see if we can find some better ways to get here. Cowboys drive stalling out. We're not playing Tony Pollard. We are playing Dak. So I think we can go to a kicker here. Pretty steep price tag for Brandon Aubrey. His box scores are not bad, though. 9, 9, 7, 7, 13. With the high total here, I think if we try to target Aubrey as a way that the points get put on the board, I think we can go here. So let's go to Brandon Aubrey. Particularly wants Schumacher. What's his price tag? You could talk me into it. 1,800. So we'd be leaving 1,500 on the table. We're getting different from Jake Ferguson, who, as we talked about yesterday, the red zone share for Ferguson has been coming down. I don't hate it. Let's see who else we have at receiver, though, before I commit fully. That's this one. I don't want to betray Consigliere, my personal Tom Hagen, but I don't know if he's the guy. Jalen Tolbert. Will people play a Lamb Tolbert with Dak? Maybe not. Got to have another Dallas pass catcher because we have Dak at captain, though. So that's a for sure thing that we have to do either way. The choices, chat, you tell me. Tolbert, Turpin, Schumacher. I think it's about it. I don't think we'd play anybody else here on Dallas. I don't think there's anybody actually getting reps. So you choose, chat. Tolbert, Schumacher, Keontae Turpin. Which one we go with? I'm not going to go up to Cooks because we can't afford him right now. I think Cooks has been a very good play, but I would have to take away Lamb. I guess that's a way to do that. Do I really want to fade Lamb? No, I don't know that I want to fade Lamb in this one. Tolbert. All right, nobody's going to chime in for one of the other guys. Consigliere said Schumacher. We need a tiebreaker. Schumacher or Tolbert? Who do we choose? Colin's saying Tolbert. All right, well, there we go. Colin's a tiebreaker. We're going to go Jalen Tolbert for the final one. Leaving $300 on the table feels a little bit narrow, which is where Schumacher. You know what, guys? I'm going against it here. I'm seeing a few Emmitt Smith. Yeah, we'll plug in Emmitt Smith here. That'll go well. Let's go Schumacher for the final part of the build. Schumacher has had some upside lately. Let me check the snap counts because that's an important one to look at relative to Schumacher versus Jake Ferguson. Schumacher, 22 snaps last week. Ferguson, 39. So not a big difference. We're getting closer to a 50-50 share. Obviously not a pure 50-50, but the week before that, it was 52 snaps for Ferguson versus 25 for Schumacher. So that gap closing is a good sign for Schumacher. I'm going to make an editorial decision here and go Schumacher. Let's put it in. Why am I entering with crowns? We can enter with money. All right, let's enter with money here. Final team, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Lockett, Zach Charbonnet, Brandon Aubrey, and Luke Schumacher will be our boys in the single entry in the huddle, 15K to first. And if you want to tail this lineup, you can. I think we've been very good. I know we're over a 50% cash rate on lineups built on stream, but have not had the good run that I would like to see, which I guess is going to happen when you're building the way we do on stream for sure. Let's look at the projections, though, coming up here. And again, let me make sure they're freshly updated. Where the projections are going to tell us, of course, is where the field's going to be pushed towards the most. Who are the top projected guys? CeeDee Lamb, 22.28 projection. So 22.3, let's say. He's going to be one of the top plays in the slate. No surprise there. Dak Prescott going to be a little bit lower. So I would imagine that CeeDee Lamb will be the higher owned captain, but we will find out in a moment here. Tony Pollard at number 3, 17.9 projection. Obviously, these guys are going to be a very chalky configuration. If I had to guess right now, I think these guys will be in pretty close to every lineup when we run Fantasy Cruncher in a moment. We will find out. Geno Smith at number 4, Zach Charbonnet, and DK Metcalf not that far behind. These guys are basically even. I think DK Metcalf gets underplayed as a result. It's not a great matchup for DK, but we know he's in fact a grown-ass man who is a boundary receiver. So for DK Metcalf, I think he's going to be an interesting play that I will play some at captain tonight. I think there is a Metcalf breakout game coming at some point. I do believe it's a better matchup and a much better price tag for Tyler Lockett, but the projections are close enough, so I think people will play Lockett more. I think Metcalf kind of stands out here as a play that you're not going to land on an optimizer. We'll find out in a moment. Then top value plays as well. I have to look at those. Top value plays, Colby Parkinson, the Seattle tight end. Kenny McIntosh, maybe getting a few snaps, would be the backup to Zach Charbonnet. He's an okay guy. Can get some passes, but it does feel like they trust Charbonnet more as a pass catcher. DJ Dallas, getting a projection on him. He is perfectly fine. Jalen Brooks, okay. Sean McKeon. So not the most exciting value plays. I don't imagine we'll get a lot of these guys. Thanks for the content, Spags. Good luck to you and all my fellow squirters. Any tips on a single entry tonight? Man, single entries are tough because, like, for Showdown especially, like, I really think you want to try to pin down a variety of outcomes with the lineups you build. I would say for a single entry, if you're willing to lose the money, which you should be going heavier Seattle. I'll tell you exactly what the amount would be when we get to Fantasy Cruncher, but I would think just whatever is going to be a little more than is comfortable with playing Seattle players, or I guess less if for some reason they're coming up a lot. But I think it's going to be like probably playing like a 3-3 for Seattle will get you different enough. But we'll find out in a moment. It's certainly a 4-2 for Seattle will get you really off the beaten path. But you have to, again, be willing to lose that money, which is how the best Showdown players play, which is unfortunately the nature of the beast. You have to have a bankroll to win a Showdown. For the most part, obviously, you're never out of hope, but to sustain it over time, I do think you'd have to have a bankroll and have to be willing to take some L's. Let's see the ownership here. So CeeDee Lamb, top projected ownership overall, 66% overall between captain and utility. He'll also be the highest owned captain, projected by Stochastic at just shy of 17%. Dak Prescott, 63%, 11% in captain. Tony Pollard, 52% overall, 12% in captain. Then Geno, 46%, 7% in captain. I will say that is one that jumps out too, would be going to Geno as your captain and stacking up the Seattle pass game. And then maybe you take a Dak and a Lamb coming back, or a Lamb and a Pollard coming back and try to consolidate that Dallas offense. But Geno being this lowly owned, I think is kind of interesting, even though QB captains could be hit and miss. If you are playing a QB captain, try to make sure you're putting in at least one pass catcher, ideally 2 or 3, because that's how the QB is able to pass those guys at captain, because otherwise the flex guys will beat them out. Wide receivers with the PPR points will always beat out a QB that doesn't have multiple pass catchers. Zach Charbonnet at number 5 here, 43% overall, 9% in captain for Charbonnet. I don't think he's got captain upside in the spot. I would be a little more inclined to move away from that one. Low-owned guys that you can go to under 10%, DJ Dallas, Colby Parkinson, Jake Bobo. I guess Rico Dowdle's at 10%, so we can lump him in. Disley, Kevontae Turpin, Schoonmaker. All right, so we got really low-owned that single entry with Schoonmaker. So I like that. Good call by Consigliere getting us on the track there. Jalen Brooks, McIntosh, D. Eskridge, Hunter Luque, whatever. Nobody too exciting there. Let's go to Fantasy Cruncher and see what it gives us. Of course, it never is loaded, even though I've had it loaded. We'll find out. And of course, God damn you, Fantasy Cruncher. Just make this easy on me one time. Why don't you? All right. DraftKings Showdown. There we go. It's a miracle. So, of course, what we're going to see here in an optimizer is what the pure math drives us to. It's not going to be an exact reflection of what the field's going to play. What it is going to be is a reflection of where the math in the projections from Stochastic in particular push you towards. Because Stochastic's projections are going to be pretty close to the average of the field, it does give you a pretty good read on how the field is going to be forced to players, even when they don't realize it. So that's why we run this optimizer always as part of the process. Top projected lineup is going to be this one. Charbonnet captain. I am surprised by that. Charbonnet captain, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Tyler Lockett, JSN, and Brandon Aubrey. So chalky trio there with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. But who's in every lineup? Let's find that out. So Dak is an 80% at flex. Not in every lineup. Dak is only in 92% of lineup, only 12% at captain. CeeDee Lamb, though, 80% of lineups at flex, 20% at captain. So I would anticipate that CeeDee Lamb makes it into every lineup. Zach Charbonnet actually might be in every one. Zach Charbonnet, 28% at captain, and then 68% at flex. So almost 100%, but pretty close to it. I think that's it, though. So the only guy who's in every lineup is CeeDee Lamb. So what do we take away from that, guys? I feel like I'm doing the shows that we make Luca watch. What do we know? What does it mean when we see 100% for a guy? That's the guy you would fade to get away from a large portion of the field. So if you don't play CeeDee Lamb in a lineup tonight, you're getting different. I will say for myself, I absolutely will fade CeeDee Lamb in some lineups because it's a lot easier to make that fade when it's one guy who we know projects everywhere. But that said, Dak is close enough. Charbonnet is close enough. If you wanted to make it a 3-man list of guys that are going to be in almost every lineup, it is going to be CeeDee Lamb, Dak, Charbonnet. That's going to be your 3. Kickers here. Brandon Aubrey coming up a lot. Jason Myers coming up a lot. This is a lot more kicker than usual. This would be about, 76% combined ownership at captain. So that's a lot of fucking kicker. I would play more running backs when you get this much kicker, but the kickers project well. Kickers have a good floor and have a reasonable ceiling. But I think with kickers coming up this much, it does feel like they're not going to sneak up on anybody. We'll see what the sim says, but it's pretty tough. DST, you're not getting Cowboys D. So a 5-1 with Cowboys D, I think, is going to be a little bit more lively than it might usually be. Dallas D, I'm sure, is priced incredibly uncomfortably. They're at 5,600. That's a tough price tag. Dak at QB as well with Seattle D. I would play a little more defenses. I think less kickers, more defenses will be one thing that I'm seeing. Just because when these guys project too well, especially with kickers, they just get into too many lineups. And I think a kicker is a very fluid position. I do believe Dallas is going to be on Seattle's side of the field a good amount of time, but it doesn't really matter. As we talk about a lot with Showdown, it's not about the best play. It's about playing unique combinations. And I think people are going to attack this one as Dallas is a heavy favorite. Dallas has control. Dallas puts up a lot of points. So Brandon Aubrey's going to make it into a lot of lineups tonight. I would guess, what was his ownership? Let me check that real fast. Aubrey was at 24%. I think he's closer to 33 to 40 would be my guess. I think Aubrey gets 33 to 40 and close to 5% of captain. So fact check me on that one if I'm wrong, but that'd be my guess. I think he's coming up a little too easily here. Anything else here? Stack-wise, very important, of course. So we're getting 7 out of 25s or 4-2s favoring Dallas. So we're not getting 5-1 Dallas onslaughts. So I do think Dallas onslaughts are on the menu. We're also getting 4-player stacks of Seattle. So it feels like a Seattle onslaught is absolutely the full contrarian build that's going to have a harder time to hit. When it does hit, though, you're going to win pretty big like the Bears people did on Monday. But Dallas onslaughts are definitely more appealing because they're just not coming up naturally. It's going to make you uncomfortable to play them, I would guess. So I think Dallas onslaughts and Seattle onslaughts are on play. And it feels like the middle of the pack is going to be a little bit higher projected and come across a little more easily. So onslaughts, I think, are the move today. Onslaughts with a defense and not a kicker, I think would be it, or both, I guess, would be the other move. Let's look at the sims, though. Let's build it out here. Of course, what Stochastic is going to do with these sims is going to build us 10,000 lineups and have them compete against each other 40,000 times. And it's going to do that right before our eyes here because I didn't have a chance to do that right before this one. DJ Dallas over McIntosh. I don't really have a lane. DJ Dallas projects better. Kenny McIntosh, I think Seattle will be curious to see what he has, but they trust Dallas a little bit more. But I think it kind of doesn't matter because Zach Charbonnet is the guy they trust the most in the pass game. So they're both tournament plays for sure. You're getting leverage on Charbonnet, but you're getting real thin leverage for sure because Charbonnet is going to be, he's going to be the bell cow. He had, I think, 85% of the running back share last week. So that's how you're expecting it to go. And a similarly tough matchup. I presume it's once again 30% to first, but I'm not going to check. Probably 33% would be my guess. So let's just run the sim here. And while we do, guys, time for some quick whoring. Of course, if you're new around here, Splash Play's on that march to 3K subs, and we're dangerously close. We're like 40 away. I think less than 40 away right now. So smash the like button. And if you're not subscribed, about 46% of people that watch Splash Play are not subscribed. And I need you guys. I need you guys right now because this is a one-man shop here, a solo entrepreneur thing that we're doing. We're not affiliated with any sites right now. It's just me being here. So subscribe down below, hit the like button, help us get there. And of course, go check out Probably as well. Getting great data for every game. We're talking about basically the most profitable bets in the world you are going to find, including I'm putting out the work on video every single day at Probably app on YouTube as well. We'll be cutting that video right after I finish the stream, but we're up, I think, about 4.5 units on the week. So I feel really good how that process is going, and I'm showing the work every day. So check it out at Probably app. And as a person watching Splash Play, you could save 50% on any of our data packages at Probably monthly or yearly. So you could save literally up to $250 on Probably right now. Go to probably.com/subscribe. Use promo code SPLASH. All right. Let's look at these sim lineups here. Top ROI lineup, a JSN captain. What did JSN play snap-wise last week? I know the work's been coming up for him a little bit. Jackson Smith and Jigba played 42 snaps compared to, not Drew Lock, Tyler Lockett, compared to 53 for Lockett. So he is getting pretty close there. How much did Metcalf play? Metcalf played 48. All right, I guess this is a valid play. I don't love a JSN captain, but Dallas is bad against tight end. And again, I'll say it one more time. If you're bad against tight end, you're likely also going to be bad against certain slot receivers as well. So JSN at captain here. I think this one still gets duped because it's 49.6. You're getting in all the studs, but this is your top ROI lineup, so that is what it is. Let's look at the top 150. Again, this is a great tool. The data moves around over the course of a day, so keep that in mind. I would recommend signing up for Stochastic if you can, if you have the means to do so. But don't play the lineup straight away if you can, because it does move around quite a bit. Top players overall in terms of what we're getting: 71% Dak at the flex. And then how much are we getting at captain? Only 5.3% in captain. So I might have made a bad play for that single entry build, but it does seem like a Dak captain is not the most popular in the Sims. Who's going to be our highest owned captain then? CeeDee Lamb, highest owned captain. So they are saying, despite him being the chalk, they're projecting him to have a good amount of ownership. We saw over 17 or almost 17% projected ownership. They're saying get to 32. So they want you to get almost double the field the amount on CeeDee Lamb. That's dangerous because CeeDee Lamb is very chalky, but we do know he's got one of the 3 biggest upsides on the slate, if not the number 1 overall. So for CeeDee Lamb, I get it. I think you're going to make more money moving away from him personally. But that's the Sims are what the Sims are. Tony Pollard, number 2 at captain, 11% for him, 9% JSN. Charbonnet down pretty low. So Charbonnet does seem like the Sims think he is not a good play. So that's something to keep in mind. But again, I played Dak, so I guess that's not a good play either. Highest leverage guys the Sims are giving you right now: Dak Prescott at the flex, 15% more in the field. Colby Parkinson coming up a lot for the Sims. Parkinson played how many snaps last game? Parkinson played 20 snaps last game. Is that really that much better than Fant? Fant played 33. Disley played 15. So I guess it makes sense. I would favor Fant, but again, it's a good matchup for going against Dallas. Tight ends are really the weakest spot for Dallas on the year. I believe they're above a 0.7 EPA allowed. You have 0.73 EPA allowed to tight ends. So that is the worst mark in the league defending tight ends. So I think Parkinson can pay off. How much was he coming up in the optimizer? That's so much Parkinson. He wasn't coming up at all in the optimizer. Huh. All right. So I guess Parkinson is going to be a good play. He's getting enough snaps. I'm not going to push against it, but he is definitely a value play that allows you to get to lineups that are interesting. So that's why he's there. CeeDee Lamb, positive leverage as well at captain. Seahawks getting leverage at the flex. Geno Smith getting leverage on the flex. And there's everybody else there. If you want to see some lineups, let me know, and I'll drop them in. Tyler's here. We love seeing our boy Tyler. Of course, glad to see the Squirt Squad. Always in attendance. Appreciate all you guys being here. But, tough time of year. Very busy time of year for a lot of us as well. So I always appreciate you guys who can join the stream and get in here. And I miss our people who can't make every show because you guys have jobs and lives. How dare you? The audacity to have jobs and lives. All right, so other lineups we can look at here. Let's look at a captain. Let's see what a Dak captain looks like. If you want me to look up a captain, drop it in the chat now because we're going to try to wrap this one up a little bit faster today. Dak. Oh, no, starts with Dak. Shout out Tank, getting some of our old favorites back in here. Appreciate you guys being here. Of course, Splash Play marches on every day. Tomorrow will be another 12 o'clock start time day. So I'm doing another stochastic stream. Hopefully we'll get back to normal last week, but trying to fill in for Lofty because he's still on paternity leave and having a difficult time, I'm sure, with 2 children. So Splash Play will be back to the normal 11 o'clock every day soon, but I'm trying to help out and make myself a little pocket money because Spags is broke. No, not broke, but a fucking broker that I'd like to be. Dak Prescott, a captain, CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys, Jake Ferguson, Kenny McIntosh, Tony Pollard. That is the highest ROI lineup. Okay. I get it. Like, it's got the double stack. Playing Kenny McIntosh as your lone Seahawk feels fairly thin to me, but the Sims are going to tell you what they're going to tell you. I'd personally prefer this one: Dak, Aubrey, Cowboys, Ferguson, Pollard, Charbonnet. But we're still using 49.7 in salary, so you are getting fairly duped. Oh, interesting. Zach Ertz released. All right, so that should look better for McBride. McBride is on the injury report. I thought Eric had mentioned to me on the show before this one, so interesting to see that because I guess it must mean McBride's okay. But also the Cardinals, watch out for tank time because their injury report is incredibly long this week, and that is definitely a sign of a potential tanking to come, if not this week, in future weeks. Let's look at a cheap Dak captain, or a cheaper. We're getting lower on ROIs, but anything over 49K, I feel like you're going to get duped on with Dak being probably a very popular captain. God, this is just a lot of expensive lineups. All right, here's one: Dak, Geno, Jalen Tolbert, Fant, Pollard, Lockett. No, Dak would have to run in a bunch of touchdowns here, which is possible, but I think that defeats the purpose of playing a QB captain. Playing a QB captain allows you to cut the parlay. No, you have to get some pass catchers in, but we're only getting Cooks we're only getting Tolbert in this one, so that doesn't make the most sense. God, this is ugly with Dak and captain. This one's good. 48.7. We're fading CeeDee Lamb, Dak, Brandon Cooks, Cowboys D, Jake Ferguson, JSN, Tyler Lockett. I think that makes sense. You're getting away from the chalk of Lamb, and you're also going to Dak while still having his pass catchers get there. I think it's pretty good. I also think people won't play for Cowboys D. So I think that certainly makes some amount of sense. Let's look at the captain requests you guys want. What about a Brandon Cooks captain? We'll hit that one first. Starts with Brandon. Oh, I have to filter further. Hold on. Got to put in, got to spell the Cooks version of Brandon correctly here. Brandon Cooks. Let me hide this chat. 49.8. You're getting duped on this one, I would think. 48.6. Cooks, Cowboys, Dak, Tolbert, Pollard, Lockett. So you're fading CeeDee Lamb again, which we do like. You're saving money. That's a pretty good one. Let's go to some higher ROI ones, though, because I'm towards the bottom. 50K. I would, by the way, for the record, just because I don't say this out loud enough, I would never play a 50K lineup. Like, for what it's worth, it's not worth it. It's too easy to land on. Like, it's usually just not worth it to play those lineups. Obviously, they could still hit, but you're usually going to be chopped with a lot of people. If you're playing a 50K lineup, you better make sure it's like 5-1 Seattle kind of stuff. Or on Monday, 5-1 Bears kind of stuff. But even then, you end up duped a little bit more than you probably should. And so there's something to keep in mind that, like, the Sims will push you towards 50K lineups. I never play 50K lineups on a slate, which, your mileage may vary. Other Cooks lineups that seem worthwhile. These are all so pricey. Give me like a 46K one. Brandon Cooks, Cowboys, Dak, Seahawks, Tony Pollard, Charbonnet. Don't love playing both defenses, but it's cheap and it's not going to get duped a lot. So I think that's it. I think the first one I looked at would probably be my favorite for Cooks. Let's see. Pollard captain is what our guy Tyler wants to see. Let's do that. Tony P. I'm even going to write the full name. Tony P it is. Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Dak, Jalen Tolbert, Jason Myers, JSN. That makes sense. So you're getting leverage on Brandon Aubrey as a kicker with Myers. Usually two kickers can't make a lineup. And obviously it happens, but it doesn't happen frequently enough usually to play it. But 49.7, I think you're getting duped on that still, would be my guess. 48.7. That's pretty nice. Okay, Tony Pollard, Cowboys D. So we got the nice correlation there. Geno Smith, JSN. So we have two pass catchers for Geno who don't have to have outlier days necessarily. But Geno Smith, JSN, Tyler Lockett, and Zach Charbonnet. So you would only be playing Cowboys D and Tony Pollard. So you're getting a little bit more contrarian with a 4-2 for Seattle. You're also playing a more narrow outcome because you're not playing CeeDee Lamb. You're not playing Dak. This is a lineup where if this one were 49.5, 49.7, it would be okay because you're making kind of logical leaps that are very contrarian as a result. So I think that's kind of interesting. Check out a few more. Did I already do Lockett? We'll look at Lockett here. Look at a few more, then we'll give our 3 takeaways. Tyler Lockett. Top ROI one's 50K, so I wouldn't play it. Lockett, Lamb, Cowboys, Geno Smith, Fant, Pollard. That one's going to be duped a million fucking times. No way. Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, Dak, Geno, Tolbert, Charbonnet. Interesting. I think that's interesting. This is one that I think would be a little more live to play. It says one dupe, but because you're not playing CeeDee Lamb and leaving 12 under the table, I don't think you're actually getting duped on that. And if you are, you're getting duped less than 5 times. So like it's still an okay lineup. The count of dupes here, by the way, like don't swear by it if you're using stochastic sims, just because it's more about the overall construction. You have to be really good at eyeballing the stuff to get there. 48.8. Lockett, Lamb, Dak, Geno, Tolbert, Seahawks. There's a few good ones. I think Tyler Lockett captain looks like the most appealing one so far. I would like Lockett more in like a 5-1 Cowboys build where Lockett is the bring back, but I think that still works. Who else do we want to see? Ferguson. Jake Ferguson. All right. Let's see. Where's Ferguson coming up here? Because I don't recall seeing a lot of them. Only 8% Ferguson in the optimizer. Here's the top ROI one, 49.5. I would guess this is a dupe lineup. Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, Metcalf, Dak, Tolbert, JSN. That's an okay one. I would want to get for Ferguson closer to the 48 range if we can. 48.9. That's too many studs. This one maybe because you have Colby Parkinson, Ferguson captain, CeeDee Lamb, Colby Parkinson, Dak, Geno, Lockett. I think that makes sense. I do think the dupe count though is a little bit spooky here because that feels like that's all legit players besides Colby Parkinson, who's not a legit player but is a projection play. I think that works. I think that would be the one that looks good for Ferguson. Let's see who else we got. DST captain. You guys are fucking sick. That's not. I would still not advocate for that. We saw it like it was as close as possible for Dallas. No, Cowboys is what it's going to be. It was as close as possible for Chicago, on Monday. But they still didn't get there. Like you still had a receiver getting there. I tend to think that's how most games go. But Cowboys D. All right, Cowboys D leaving 1K on the table. Cowboys, Cooks, Lamb, Prescott, Seahawks, Charbonnet. Mm, it's okay. I don't love the two defenses in that one personally. Um, see, we're getting a lot of stops. I think we want a kicker in this one. Cowboys, Aubrey, Lamb, Dak, Myers, Pollard. This is good. So this is a 5-1 Cowboys build. You're saying that none of the Seahawks get there. Jason Myers outscores them all. So Jason Myers probably kicks in 4 or 5 field goals. It's a lot of salary being used, so I think it still gets duped. But this is the kind of construct I would look for if you are playing Cowboys D at captain. Fan captain for Consigliere, and that'll be the last request we take here. Then we'll give our 3 takeaways to close out the video. Noah Fant. If you're going with a cheap captain and use all the salary, you're going to be duped more. So we do want to, again, you always want to leave salary on the table for the most part, unless you are going with that unique build, the underdog heavy build, that kind of thing. Noah Fant, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, Zach Charbonnet. That doesn't feel sneaky, but no dupes projected, 49K salary. I like that. I guess you are fading Dak in that build. So that's a little bit contrarian. You're fading Aubrey as well. Yeah, I can get with that. Noah Fant. We definitely want Geno in a lineup with Fant at captain, I think. Yeah, I think that one's the best one. 47-4. Fant, Aubrey, Lamb, Dak, Geno, Ferguson. I like this one. This actually might be my favorite. 47-4. You're leaving a lot of money. It's a negative ROI lineup, which for showdowns, you have to be willing to play. Honestly, for main slates, you have to be willing to play them too. For showdowns, though, it still has a 0.02% win rate, a 0.09% top 10 rate. So we're getting there enough. This build is probably my favorite Noah Fant build. I think it's still pretty thin. But if Noah Fant gets there, it is a good matchup, and you are getting direct leverage on the projection play that is Colby Parkinson. So I think this is a sharp lineup. It's tough, man, because Noah Fant's got to outscore a lot of dudes. But if he outscores a lot of dudes, and you also have to kind of have this configuration of guys to get in there, it's a way to do it. You basically need CeeDee Lamb to put up like 17 to 25 and Fant to put up 20. And I think that would do it for you for Fant to captain. But I think that works. Myers is a good play. Seattle always fizzles out in the red zone. I mean, against a tough defense as well. Dallas' defense is fairly tough across the board. But, Aubrey's coming up the most. So I think inherently Myers is a good play because whenever one kicker is coming up a bunch, again, both kickers usually don't make a lineup. So if Aubrey comes up a lot, Myers becomes a better play. But Myers is still coming up a good enough amount. So just something to keep in mind with that. All right, 3 takeaways to build unique lineups tonight for the Seattle Seahawks, Dallas Cowboys Showdown Thursday Night Football. Number 1 would be, you got to be willing to get less CeeDee Lamb. I think, the Sims are going to push you towards captain CeeDee Lamb, going to push you towards flex CeeDee Lamb. I get it. He's a good play. But again, for showdown, it's not about the best play. It's not about always getting those guys in. So I think taking less Lamb captain is one approach that I would do for some portion of lineups. I wouldn't full fade Lamb, to be clear. I think that he's a very strong play. The Sims are saying that and spelling that out pretty clearly because they know he's the highest owned, and they're still saying get more at captain, get more overall. But I think if you just want to get away from a large swath of the field, not playing CeeDee Lamb is a way to do that. And to a lesser extent, not playing Dak, not playing Zach Charbonnet. Those are ways to get away from the field as well. Number 2 takeaway to build unique lineups. 5-1s. I think 5-1s for both sides are underrepresented. If you're playing the 5-1 for Seattle, it's a very narrow outcome, but you're going to be different from a lot of the field because they are a massive underdog here. A 9-point underdog on Thursday Night Football we have not seen a lot of. So you could play both 5-1 Cowboys. That's under-owned relative to what the projections are showing. But 5-1 Seattle, if you want to really go for the gusto, and if you get that outcome right, you're going to win money, I think, if you just play the 5-1 Seattle and Seattle somehow upsets the Cowboys. But you could win all the money if Seattle upsets the Cowboys and you get the right 5-1. So I think playing some amount of 5-1s on both sides, but definitely playing a few 5-1s for Seattle is going to be the move. And number 3 takeaway. This is tough. I still like Dak stacks at captain more, but I don't think that's it. I think it's Colby Parkinson. I think Colby Parkinson is kind of a logical play. Noah Fant is definitely leverage on him. And I would say that to me, Colby Parkinson, Noah Fant, Will Dissly, those are basically the same play. They're all guys, 15 or more snaps. They represent the good matchup against Dallas. None of them are going to be that chalky. So I think they're all strong plays to get to. I would prefer to not play them at captain, but that Fant captain lineup looked kind of appealing. So, I mean, we know Fant has slate breaking upside. It's just, we haven't seen it a lot lately. But Fant, I think, is an interesting play, but all 3 of the tight ends, I think it's a little bit undervalued. And for what it's worth, again, Dallas has gotten strafed by tight ends all year. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month plus ago now, George Kittle, showdown winning captain against Dallas. You know why? Because they just don't defend tight ends well. So I think mixing those guys in, ideally in the flex, but you can get some at captain as well, would be the 3rd takeaway to have for yourself. So there we go. Dissly is questionable. If he misses, then Fant absorbs most of those snaps. I think it's a mix between Fant and Parkinson, but you know, the snap count was what it was. Both guys are going to be out there. There we go. So glad I came across your streams. Keep up the great work. So great to see Sotex here, another stochastic guy. Glad to see people coming to the mix. And of course, if you're not around here often, please do subscribe down below. We are just shy of 40 subs away from 3K, and I want to hit that the sooner the better so we can start focusing on the big climb to 4K to 5K. So please subscribe down below. Help a brother out. I'm always here doing shows for you guys, always trying to give you guys the best takes possible. It's what we do on Splash Play every day. Of course, using the data, giving the takes, talking about the game theory and all of that. Of course, shouts to the Squirt Squad as well. If you want to join down below, $4.99 a month, you can do that. You get access to custom emojis. You get the VIP package. You also get whatever chats you want to send to me as well. And of course, you get my data sheet on the weekends that includes all the stuff that I look at while doing streams and in general the prep. So that's the process here on Splash Play. But of course, thank you to the Squirt Squad, all the members here who help me put on shows as a solopreneur here on YouTube. And again, probably.com, check it out. I'll be doing the video of best bets today. It's been making money like every day. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, just please do it. Like, if you have legal betting in your state, you don't know what to do, you're placing your gut feel bets, use data, use mathematically profitable data from the top sportsbooks around the world. It's how we define the true probability from every event and then great amount against legal sportsbook opportunities. So it's been winning money. You can see the results on Twitter at Probably App as well. But check the videos out and check out and place some bets if you can. It'll help you build your DFS bankroll by just placing good bets time and time again. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Appreciate all you guys for being here. As always, I'll be back tomorrow again, 12 o'clock. We'll do the fantasy football gauntlet with the same process for the main slate, and then attack on an underdog battle royale, tack on an underdog pick'em. That's the gauntlet we'll have on Fridays. But appreciate all you guys hanging out. I will see you guys again soon. So enjoy your days and good luck. If I don't take this down, I hope you do. Bye.